Welcome back to the Hoedown Showdown. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and that was Cabo by our next featured guest, Kate Watson. How's it going today, Kate?
It's going pretty dang good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Just kind of escaping that Texas heat, but being from the Texas, you're well familiar with this ungodly heat that we're going through right now.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but excited to have you on. I've been following you for the last few months, ever since we had Peyton on the show back in February, March, whenever it was. You just kind of naturally progressed into our algorithm, and I started paying attention. I was like, oh, I want to get her on at some point, and then you release this new single, and it's like, okay, cool, let's make it work. So,
Yeah,
it's
I'm excited to be here and thanks for having me.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, what was it? You're from Texas. What was it like growing up in Texas for you?
So I've actually moved 14 times in my entire life. I grew up in Texas, like
Uh-huh.
most of it. I was
Yeah.
born and raised. Um, and I moved to Georgia for a year. I moved to North Carolina for a year. It was so cool because I got to meet so many new people through all that and grow up and just having to also figure out who I was through all that was hard too. Because most people they have their friends from whenever they're born to you grow up together, and I didn't have that, and I constantly was like the new kid.
Mhm.
So it was really, really hard. I went through a lot of bullying and all that different kind of stuff, but I can proudly say that it made me strong. It helped me to just transcend who I am and push me into this career, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, so you said you moved 14 times?
Actually, 15 now.
Okay. Fair. So how does that kind of did that help or hurt your musical chances? Do you think you became a musician because you moved so much, or what's kind of your opinion there?
I think that it helped shape my character.
Mhm.
It helped me to see a lot of things that I may not have seen growing up and stuff that I ended up being kind of an observer. I don't know if you like know the different kinds of people throughout school or whatever. I was the one that sat in the back of the class that just kind of watched everything.
Mhm.
And so I kind of used that to learn, you
Mhm.
know. So I'd say that helped me. But I also moving all these different times also had to do with my parents. They were in a band whenever
Mhm.
I was growing up, and they traveled all across Texas playing these different shows. And for me like at 7 years old and going up through the ages, it was like the coolest thing ever getting to see my parents do what they loved.
Mhm.
My dad was the leader of the band, played guitar, sang, and he wrote all the songs. Such a talented songwriter, helps me write all my original music. My mom, she plays the drums
Yes.
and she rocks so hard. Um, but I also not only got to see that, but I got to see the way that music spoke to people on a whole nother level. And I saw that and I was like, you know what? That's something that I want to do.
Mhm.
And so once I got old enough to where I was to the point where I wasn't getting bullied anymore, but I knew what it felt like.
Mhm.
And I thought, you know what? I want to be able to help people that went through what I did or whatever and use music to do that. Um, and you know, I mean, I noticed the kids that sit in the back of the class. I noticed the kids that sit alone at lunch, and I'm like, no, they're not going to sit alone. Like, get
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah.
That kind of vibe, like inviting everybody to the party. Let's have a good time. Let's do it together, no matter who you are. Like you are perfect and awesome just the way you are. We can have a good time together.
Nice. I kind of got that same. I was kind of that same kid in high school and just school in general, where I just kind of stayed back and just paid attention and
Yeah.
listened. And I kind of got the mantra of, "Oh, I don't trust you because nobody knows what you're thinking, and that's scary." And I was like, "I'm just listening. That's all I'm doing. Don't worry about me." So
Yep.
yeah, it's it's just one of those things because then you kind of get to learn how to read people and just kind
Right.
of you gain this weird sixth sense of like, oh hey, that person it's kind of giving me they're a pissed off, like this pissed off vibe. I'm gonna stay clear. You know, you just kind
Yeah.
of learn how to read people, and
And it's so helpful in this career too.
mm,
Like you literally need to be able to do that.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, kind of traveling around with the family as musicians, and you're kind of learning as you grow, which is it's an invaluable experience because you're just kind of brought up in the industry.
Yeah.
Did, who were you listening to as you were growing up? You know, kind of trying to develop your own sound, trying to differentiate yourself from your family.
Okay, so my parents, they were a Christian band,
Hmm.
so they went to all these church camps and stuff, and so most of the time we had Christian radio on in the car, and I mean, I jammed hard, okay? Uh, but other than that, I would listen to a lot of pop, actually. I loved hearing all the vocal runs and
Hmm.
things like that, and that's kinda how I would practice.
Hmm.
My dad had Lionel Richie on, he had, uh, Backstreet Boys and or is that Boys to Men, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Boys to Men on. Yeah. Um, My Prerogative,
Yeah.
like all those different kinds of songs and mixtures of stuff, and country did not come into the mix until I was way older.
Okay.
I did
Nice.
not appreciate it as much whenever I was younger. Um, and it was actually Parker McCullum who really pointed me in the right direction with that stuff. He's my big brother in country music, and I
Mhm.
love him so much just because he's had a huge impact on my journey, everything I'm doing. He's the one who discovered me. So he mentored me and listened to all my songs. He was like, you know what? Like, I really think you're meant to do country.
Mhm.
And so I kind of went with that base of like, okay, country. And he basically got me set up with all the right connections and people and everything. And he told me, he's like, it's your time to do the work. Like,
Yeah.
I've given you everything you need, and I'll come back into the picture when it's time, but it's up to you. Because right now you're green and you need
Mm.
to play every single stage that you can. Like, you need to do all that. And I'm like, okay. So I hit the ground running. I got my band together. Did all that stuff and played every single stage that I could to the point where I was playing 17 shows a month.
Wow.
And that
Okay.
was nuts. I had to cut that down because my
Right.
vocal cords were like, girl, you need
Stop.
to
What do
take
you
a
do? Yeah.
rest. Yeah.
You,
Um,
like you don't think 17 shows a month is a lot, then you realize, oh, there's like 31 days in a month.
right.
That's a lot. So, when you were when you were kind of go once you kind of made that switch to country, was it more Texas country, or were you automatically just kind of zoned in on just like country in general? Like growing up in Texas, obviously Texas has got its own country sound. Were you like were you more focused on Texas country, or were you kind of like on all encompassing as far as country goes?
I think I was more on like all country.
Hmm.
I did a little bit of Parker McCullum. I did a little bit of Carrie Underwood. I did a little bit of Leanne Womack and all those different, even Cody Johnson. And I experimented for a little bit because at the time, I mean, I was playing 3-hour gigs at restaurants where people didn't really care about you at all. They're like,
Right.
we're just trying to eat our food, keep it down. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, okay. And so, I use that time to really just hone in to it all and figure it out,
Hmm.
try things. And
Yeah.
if it just didn't work or, whatever, then it's like, all right, in the
Yeah.
trash. Like that's not it. And I was also experimenting with my original music. Um, and so it took me a little bit to kind of figure it out, but I realized it's like a rockin' country, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to jam. I like to high energy, to dance around and,
Mm.
be all over the stage. I love all of that. And to just give like a crazy show, you know?
Nice. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I like the fact that you kind of touched on that those bar gigs that can kind of become monotonous if you let them get you. You kind of flipped it, and it's like, I'm going to try things. I'm going to essentially turn this into a paid practice, which is something I've been preaching for a very long time. It's like
Absolutely.
those gigs where you think no one's listening, try different things. Like it doesn't matter. You're getting paid regardless. So,
Yeah. And I
um,
used it as a competition or not a challenge,
yeah.
a challenge to basically say, okay, how many heads can I turn today?
Yeah,
at a place where no one cares. They're not here for you. How many people can I get to watch? You know?
for sure.
And every time I would like double that number, triple that number. And it was like, you know, that's what I'd do to make it more interesting too.
Nice. It's almost like a little game with yourself, which is
Right.
you got to keep it fun, right? So,
Yeah.
um, so you just released a new song, "Pretty Heart," about 2 weeks ago. What's the story behind this song?
Basically everything I was talking about with Parker and how he mentored me, this song was basically to say thank you to
Mm,
him and just basically say how grateful and just blessed I am. I mean, you know, it's funny, maybe a year before I met him, it was like I kept thinking like I don't know if you know the story behind Justin Bieber and how he hit it big. He had like Usher take him
yeah,
under his wing and it was crazy, you know? Like it was something you don't think will happen to you. And so it's one in a million. And for me, I was sitting there thinking, I want a Justin Bieber story.
hmm
Like I really do. I want a Justin Bieber story. And then I have to just put it out of my head. Like, you know what? My story is my story.
hmm
Everyone's different. We'll see what happens. I'm just gonna work hard. And so it ended up I got my own Justin Bieber story.
nice,
And Parker just so happens to be Usher in this story.
right?
So um but it I I don't even know what to say. It's
Yeah,
makes me speechless, makes me just want to cry, you know,
nice.
to have
Hey,
somebody believe in you.
it was meant to be. You know, you put in the hours, you put in the practice beforehand, and somebody just by pure coincidence, pure like however you want to define it, they found your music, they ran across you in some way, and it was like that's special. We can do something with this. Let's get a hold of them.
Yeah.
Let's make it work. You know, and I that story happens all the time, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and in your case you're just flourishing, you're playing shows all over the place. Like I think the day this drops, aren't you singing at the rodeo tonight, Saturday technically, or
Yes, the Mesquite Rodeo.
yeah? I was because I was sitting there, I was like, just you've got so many shows, and just kind of seeing, watching all these cool different things that you're doing. Like as I sit on Instagram and scroll through and all that stuff, and it's just like that's really cool, and I'm glad it's happening for you. And it's just I can't wait to see what happens over the next few years as you can continue to take
Thank you.
advantage of these opportunities. So, um, with Pretty Heart, is it a single leading to a bigger project, or do you kind of see yourself staying in the singles realm right now?
I have for this year two more singles coming out and then next year I'll be releasing a full 8-song album.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm using this time to kind of just prepare for that album, get it all together, do it right and you know, just put that time that you need to make it really good.
Yeah.
Um So, but I have a new single coming out. I'm actually releasing on Friday, this Friday,
hmm
uh, that I'll be releasing Burn Barbie Burn on
Nice.
October 6th.
Nice.
So, yes, I guess I'll wait to tell you that story the next time I'm on here, but it's a crazy one. I love it.
I can't wait to hear it. It's I love those interesting stories about songs with like obscure titles, and it's like, yes, I love those stories.
Oh yeah.
But really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us. If anybody wants to check out any of your music, interact with you on social, catch a show, whatever it is, where's the best place to find you?
You guys can go follow me at Kate Watson Music on all social media platforms, or you can go to my website, Kate Watson Music Official, where I have all my show dates and I have merch on there. And just some people that I'm opening up for here coming soon are Kevin Fowler, Aaron Watson, Jacob Stelly, Pat Green, Braxton Keith, Darren Morris. So y'all make sure to check out my website, get those dates, get those tickets, and I'd love to meet you guys.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We're going to leave y'all here with one last song by Kate Watson called Pretty Heart.